Three, two, one, let's go. LT in the house, Mr. 411 behind the scenes. Got another great show coming to you. As you can see, we're going to do a review of our week 8 and possibly look ahead at week 9 because week 8, of course, was, studs and duds, listener league results. And then we like to look ahead on the waiver wire for week 9. With bye weeks are still here, but we'll get over that soon. But if to get it out of the way, to kind of rip the band-aid off, so to speak, we'll just do a quick news and notes segment. And as I always preface the news and notes section, it's pretty much injuries is your news and notes. Although I got a couple that I'll sprinkle in that's not injury related, but to get it out of the way, the most devastating injury, I'm sure people, if you're following this show, we know I'm pretty sure you're you're well versed in what's been going on. But Giants Cam Scatabo, that was an ankle injury, emergency surgery. He will be out for the rest of this year. They pretty much already said. Just one of those things that people hate to see it because, and LT, I don't know if you watched what happened after he was carted off there. Okay, Philadelphia. It was at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is known for having fans that are a little rude, so to speak. They booed Santa Claus at one time. That's what they're famous for. When Michael Irvin got carted off one time, they were throwing batteries onto the field. It's crazy. But when Scatabo got carted off the field, they actually clapped for Scatabo. And it wasn't a sarcastic clap. It was a clap thinking, knowing that he was, that it wasn't all right, but that he was, at least being able to get off the field. So Philadelphia kept it classy. I'll give it that, because I don't think there was a person out there that didn't like Scatabo and what he brought to the field. As a guy that loved football, he was a guy that looked for contact, and it was crazy because LT, I thought a kind of injury Scatabo would have been kind of almost like a concussion type of deal with his hard running style. So it was odd that it was an ankle injury is actually what put him out. But I think he's going to be back next year. Hope I think they've learned a lot because it's a similar injury to what Alex Smith had back when he was with Kansas City. And just a quick history lesson, what Alex Smith had after the surgery, he had various infections. It wasn't necessarily the injury and the extensive injury that caused him to have all these setbacks. It was infection after infection. So I think that part of the procedure, if they can keep away from that, Scatabo should be back fairly certain. Another injury, Browns, Quinshon Judkins, a shoulder injury, came out, did not return. Folks, that Patriots run defense is no joke. They're one of the toughest run units in the league. So all those Bijan owners, that is something that could be of concern coming up. Broncos wide receiver Marvin Mims, a concussion on Sunday's win over the Cowboys. That's why Troy Franklin had his breakout performance. It's why Pat Bryant was able to get into the field, and is why RJ Harvey had a receiving touchdown. They took a piece away. But Marvin Mims, it is his first documented concussion, so he should be back fairly soon. Bears wide receiver Luther Burden, a concussion. What that's going to mean is Odunze should get some more target share. I think Loveland should get some more, because if Komet is still out, all Loveland needs is targets to be worthwhile, because they drafted him in the top 10, for crying out loud. Get him on the field and give him some ball, And then the other one, Saquon Barkley, suffered a groin injury at the end of the third quarter, against the Giants. Discomfort, did not return. But then what we saw is Tank Bigsby, all he did was come in with 9 carries and get over 100 yards. to close out the game. So that is something definitely that it kind of showed a lot of people of who the backup to Barkley is. But think about it. Barkley with this injury, they say it's a slight injury. Well, they got a bye week this week. Time to rest. Same for that Judkins injury. I meant to say is he has a bye week too. So let's not get over the moon with Dylan Sampson just yet. I do want to talk a little bit about Lamar Jackson. LT, were you surprised at all about the late scratch for Lamar Jackson, considering he was limited practice pretty much all week?
I believe he's still injured. He's not 100% full healthy yet, and they don't want to put him on the field if he's not at 100%.
Especially when it was a fairly easy matchup with, he matched up well against Chicago. And another one of my sources, LT, said if it wasn't for them playing on Thursday this week, they probably would have tried him out to see how it goes. But since it's such a quick turnaround, they wanted to give him somewhat of an extra rest for this week, save him for the Miami game for the quick turnaround, and then he has another extended, an extra few days as well after the Miami game. So from what my sources are saying is, fire up your Lamar Jackson shares this week because he will play Thursday. He was actually, because one of the confusions was the practice reports. He was listed as a full participant on Friday's practice report, but then it came back and said he was running the scout team. Well, technically, if you're running a scout team, that is not a full participant. That is considered a limited participant, and there is what they say, a fine will be levied onto the Baltimore for trying to, game the system, so to speak. But bottom line is, I think Lamar is playing this week, and then I think he'll be fine. Also, and another thing is they're going against Miami this week, so I think it's going to be a lot of Derrick Henry, a lot of defense, kind of field position. And one thing I do want to bring up a lot, on this show, I did suggest the field goal kicker for the Ravens on their bye week, and a lot of people dropped them when Lamar was out. Well, my thing is I was keeping them in there because that just means they're not going to be as efficient in the red zone. So when they get close in there, they'll kick more field goals and extra points. So the kicker did have a good game for Baltimore, and I say, hey, if you held on to them, congratulations, because now that Lamar's back, I think even if they're they're going to be in scoring position quite often. Throughout the year, especially with Lamar. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, like the sixth easiest schedule coming up at the end of the year. I did a little peekaboo, peek ahead at lines, and folks, Baltimore with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback will be favored the game from here to the rest of the year if Lamar is playing. So that's another thing that fire up your Tyler Loop shares at kicker if he's available. Did I miss anything? McLaurin looks like he re-aggravated the injury that had bothered him a couple times. Well, when he left the field, he wasn't coming back. So that's another thing to keep an eye on with him. Oh, and another, Joe Flacco. I didn't know this, and you wouldn't have known it unless you saw the game. He actually injured his shoulder. But then the more and more information I gathered, LT, is I'm hearing that Joe Flacco is just basically old age is what hurt his shoulder more than it. The man's throwing it, 50 times a game to try and win games. So, more of shoulder fatigue than actual injury. Because let me tell you, I contact a good game next week is Chicago, Cincinnati, high over under. My source, Windy City Warriors, he's our Chicago correspondent for the show. He said, I'm calling my shot. Joe Flacco, 350 yards and 3 touchdowns next week. He said the Bears are on their fourth string cornerback. Flacco will be able to throw all day and every day. And he said he will not be surprised if Cincinnati puts up 50. But on the flip side, LT, is I think that you can fire up your Chicago Bears for the mere fact if Cincinnati is going to put up points, other teams can put up points against that Cincinnati defense. So fire up your Dunze. Fire up your. Hey, I got DJ Moore in leagues. I hadn't started him in quite a while. I'm starting DJ Moore this week, and guess what? I'm starting Monangai this week. The David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears. I think those are guys that normally against other defenses you wouldn't start, but this week you would start. And I mean, you're going to have, like I said, Miami, Philadelphia is on a bye, Cleveland on a bye, Jets on a bye, and Tampa Bay on a bye week. So you got some fairly decent teams like especially Philadelphia and Tampa Bay on bye weeks that you can fire up these Manon guys and these and heck, Loveland. I mean, I like I said, I like Loveland, especially if Luther Burden and Cole Kmet are out this year, because there's going to be plenty of scoring in that game, and there's going to be plenty of scoring in that Dallas Arizona game, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, when we talk about the mini draft. Any other injuries that I didn't bring up for LT or for 1-1 that y'all might want to go over?
No, I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to the studs and the duds, LT. And hey, the cover of the show, if you got in the cover, the thing that we will highlight when we talk about the listener league. How about the number one quarterback of the week, Jordan Love? Folks, I don't know if you watched that game, but he was throwing up just as far as he could, and the guys were open. Christian Watson, welcome back, led the team with receivers. Not again, I didn't say tight end, receivers in receiving yards, and then Tucker Kraft on tight end day just annihilated. If you had Tucker Kraft and you lost, that's because you were unlucky. But look at that. Chris Boswell. Hey, you know about Chris Boswell, don't you, LT? You know about, hey, and let me tell you, I've highlighted on the show, Chris Boswell's not sexy, but Mike Tomlin is a guy, he don't care about analytics. If you are in scoring range, regardless of score, he's sending Boswell out there to kick a field goal. He ain't playing that analytics game. And you know what? That's why I love Mike Tomlin. I like Mike Tomlin for the comments he makes, and I like the stuff for how he plays the Bill Belichick, the Andy Reid, although Andy Reid is embracing analytics more and more to my dismay. But yeah, Boswell's kicking field goals, and Aaron Rodgers is doing Aaron Rodgers things. He loves him having a receiver. Word on the street, there could be a new wide receiver going to Pittsburgh to help out Metcalf in the trade deadline. I'm hearing rumblings that Rashid Shaheed could be out there. The Saints are dangling him. I'm hearing that, so some of these other teams like Cleveland, Jerry Jeudy could actually be dealing Cedric Tillman, although I don't think he's going to deal. I mean, Cleveland has showed they dealt Flacco to Cincinnati. And I'm sure Mike Tomlin would say, hey, you're not worried about dealing within the division. Give us Cedric Tillman if you're not going to use him, right? So, yeah, but hey, Aaron Rodgers could always use another weapon. But, yeah, some of those studs are in Jalen Hurts. I mean, yeah, it was one of those things that, hey, he was doing. And LT, the man that carried your team besides Tyler Kraft, Jonathan Taylor, you said you wanted, yeah, McCaffrey went first in our mini draft. LT had the number 2 pick. He didn't go Bijan Robinson, who had the better matchup. He went with what it was he thought was the better player. And Jonathan Taylor, just another 3-touchdown game. And LT, about Jonathan Taylor, does he remind you of anybody yard touchdown run?
He is just on a whole nother level right now. I mean, for the whole season, he has just been absolutely incredible. If you drafted him or paid money for him, he's leading your team right now. Oh yeah, he is definitely there.
Yeah,
he is that dude.
He's getting the 3 touchdowns every week. And James Cook the third. LT, guys got over 200 yards. Where was him going up against Zach Ertz head to head. I just needed him to outscore Zach Ertz, and Zach Ertz double digits and James Cook single digit. I couldn't believe it. And now James Cook comes after a bye week, gets over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Very, very upsetting to me, LT. And Saquon Barkley. Hey, so is Saquon Barkley back, LT? This is his first 100-yard performance of the week. Is he back? What do you think?
Absolutely. Saquon is back. He caught a touchdown and he rushed for a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that was like a 60-yard rush right off the bat. It was one of those things that people that drafted him finally got rewarded for and you had to keep starting him. He's not a guy you sit on your bench, and another. But hey, Brees Hall, another stud, Mr. 41 RLT. I mean, hey, he said, and it was funny because I was talking to Jim from Jersey, our Jets correspondent. He was talking. He said, "Yeah, the reason Brees Hall threw the winning touchdown is they didn't trust Justin Fields to do so with the game on the line. So they said, with the game on the line, we're going to let Brees Hall throw the ball." And it worked because it wound up winning them the game. But Brees Hall, and that's another guy they're talking about in the trade rumors that, hey, he could get, they saying KC is looking at him. They saying the Chargers, because they're worried about Omarion Hampton, 2 playoff teams that could use a boost at the running back position. So definitely keep that in mind. And Troy Franklin, folks, hey, for the bipocalypse, right, with your 6 teams on a bye week, and for AJ Brown being out, and for Drake London, a surprise out early on Sunday, Troy Franklin, you could have thrown him in there and he could have won you games, with those 2 touchdowns. Troy Franklin, and he's still LT, he's still available in 68% of leagues. So we might have to talk about him in the waiver wire. So, and hey, we talked about Tucker Kraft, your guy LT in the mini draft. He did your thing. What about Michael Pittman, a guy that helped 4-1 out this year? And I was just I wanted to do a little deep dive. I did a little deep dive after the Michael Pittman thing, and in non Anthony Richardson games, Michael Pittman is a wide receiver 1 over the past 3 years in non-Anthony Richardson games. So that's definitely something to take into account going forward. But hey, you can say, and it's crazy because if you're on the Colts are getting 2 studs a week with Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman, and Tyler Warren. Unfortunately, Michael Pittman's game was Tyler Warren's loss somewhat in there. But hey, any other studs you want to talk about, LT?
Yeah, I've got a couple of honorable mentions that almost made that list right there. What about RJ Harvey with 25 points? RJ Harvey and Troy Franklin together on the Denver squad, man, that was just a great game for them.
It was also a great matchup with the Dallas Cowboys. We said if you're playing the Cowboys, you start your running backs, you start your number 2 receivers and stuff like that.
Oh, so I've also got another one. What about Kamani Vidal? 25 points. 117 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And he had a great game.
It was chunk plays too in the second half. What happened, if you watch that game, they had the ball so much in the first half. The Minnesota Vikings defense was just slap tired by halftime, and Vidal was doing chunks, 8 yards a chunk, 12 yards, stuff like that. So yeah, Vidal got it done.
Absolutely, sure did.
What about any other studs, Mr. RLT?
I'm going to bring up my other stud later in the show because I know we're going to talk about him. But I'm not going to bring up Kareem Hunt right now. I'm going to wait until later with his 2 touchdowns.
I got you. So hey, but I want to just do a point on the RJ Harvey, folks. Yes, he made the stud list. But I'm not actually firing up my RJ Harvey shares as a start, because the only difference between RJ Harvey this week and RJ Harvey or this past week and the RJ Harvey for the prior games before that was the only difference was he was scoring the touchdowns, because his snap share, his target rate, and everything, every underlying metric associated with him, it stayed the same. So the one difference was the Dallas Cowboys, which allowed him extreme uber efficiency on his touches. But hey, so with that, I'm gonna go to the dud section, because for every Jalen Hurts and for every I cannot believe Quentin Johnson, goose egg, Jake Ferguson, goose egg. Look at two of the top three running backs in the league. Bijan Robinson, single digits. Christian McCaffrey, single digits. I mean, that's unheard of. Baker Mayfield going against the Saints, doing what he did. So yeah, this is a very surprising list. But I'm telling you, what are you worried about Bijan Robinson, LT? Any?
Not really. I think he just had an off game. It's still the Falcons, and he has up weeks and down weeks.
So, but I do want to say this one thing. This is what worries me about Bijan. Well, first of all, it was the Miami Dolphins. But when you look behind the scenes, Bijan Robinson has only eclipsed the 75-yard rushing once since week 2. Right reason he's been so good is his receiving work. And what worries me now is this next 2 games, New England, number 1 in the league against the run. Indianapolis, number 8 in the league against the run. So 2 real tough run defenses for a guy that struggled against the 31st ranked run defense just this last week at home. So that's a little worried about me. But Christian McCaffrey, hey, I'm not worried about Christian McCaffrey. That was on the road. It was at that tough Texan defense. They got the Giants coming up in week 9, a team that just allowed Tank Bigsby and Saquon Barkley over 100 yards. So I think McCaffrey will go ballistic this weekend. So definitely fire him up. But another dud, you would say with Baker Mayfield, that went on to Emeka Egbuka, right? The only non-dud in the Saints Tampa Bay game was the Tampa Bay defense that scored over 20 points. Everybody else just kind of took that day off. But hey, Jake Ferguson was a surprise. He's been scoring almost 2 touchdowns a week, but just a goose egg. Again, that was just one of those weird things, because CeeDee Lamb had a bad game. The only good Dallas, Javonte Williams and his 2 one-yard touchdowns again, and Pickens, who's continuing to eat up, single coverage. But if you watch that game, George Pickens brought down at the 1-yard line, Javonte Williams with the touchdown. CeeDee Lamb brought down at the 1-yard line, first, after the CeeDee Lamb 1-yard drag down, if you saw it, Dak Prescott tried to do a little tush push, and they stopped him, and then he did an alligator roll off of the pile to still try to get in there. It was very unsuccessful. So you got to love Dak Prescott for trying to get in. And he said, I ain't going to do that again. I'm going to give Javonte Williams, because he's pretty successful from the 1-yard line. So any other duds you want to talk about, LT?
What do you think about what happened to Jake Ferguson? Was it the impact of the Denver defense?
Yes.
Because he had been catching 7 receptions every game up until this point.
Yeah, and well, see, this is what Denver's type of defense is. They put Surtain on CeeDee Lamb is what they did, and we saw what happened. CeeDee Lamb pretty much got shut out. So what they did is they took away their best receiver with Surtain, and then they took and doubled up the other two receivers. So it's crazy because George Pickens was able to beat double coverage every now and then and had a decent game, but Jake Ferguson is not a double bracket coverage type beater. So I really think it was the type of defense that gave Jake Ferguson fits. And are you worried about Quentin Johnson any? Because what worried me about Quentin Johnson is Trey Harris ran just as many routes as Quentin Johnson, and Gatson is starting to eat up a lot of those routes that Johnson was getting early on in the year. So Johnson, I think now it's time to worry about Quentin Johnson with the emergence of Gatson and Trey Harris.
Yeah, I'm absolutely worried about him because I had to start him in one league.
Yeah.
That goose egg is not pretty.
No, it is not, especially on a Thursday. So that was pretty brutal. Matter of fact, in one of my leagues, you want to talk about brutal in your Thursday? He had Quentin Johnson and Jordan Mason on Thursday night. So you had like 1.8 points between two players going into the weekend. You can almost fire up the L on that one. You would have had to have your Jonathan Taylor and Tucker Kraft and Troy Franklin trio to try and get back from that.
Yep, I agree.
Any other concerns, LT?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Okay. Well, hey, with that, we're going to the waiver wire, folks. And the waiver wire, hey, we talked about the week 9 buys, Cleveland Browns. No Judkins. Even if you think about, hey, New York Jets, no Justin Fields. Philadelphia Eagles, you're not going to have, your Hurts, Devontae Smith. Hey, AJ Brown was out anyways. AJ Brown, get healthy. Come on. And then Tampa Bay, you're not going to have your Ibukas. You've been without Bucky Irvin, but no Rashad White and so forth. So, but hey, because of the Scatterbo injury, Tyrone Tracy is your top pickup if he is available. Now, LT, you have a top 4 pick. Mm-hmm. In a league with a person that has a top 4 waiver priority, is this a time you can fire it out for a Tyrone Tracy Jr. if he's out there?
I believe you can. I believe he's going to be decent, and the role that he played when he took over for Scatterbo, I believe the Giants are going to continue to put up points. Yeah, I believe Tyrone Tracy is definitely someone you would almost empty the clip on if you still have some fab left over.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's going to be main volume, and he was fairly productive last year when he had the feature role. So if you can use that as a barometer, that is something. Is when he's been the main guy, he's produced. Bam Knight. Now, here's the thing about Bam Knight. Michael Carter, yes, people heard that he got cut. Well, guess what? He just got re-signed again to the practice squad. That was more of a procedural move. Michael Carter did not go anywhere. He's still with the Cardinals. But one thing that caught my eye, LT, is we talked about it earlier. If Bam Knight's available and you pick him up, you get the Dallas Cowboys this week. We saw what R.J. Harvey, we saw what J.K. Dobbins did. Just imagine if you have a bell cow, got a running back against a Dallas Cowboy is fantasy goodness, for Bam Knight. So those are two. And as you see, Troy Franklin, what we talked about, hey, and all his routes are, he's just going to have more route participation as long as Marvin Mims is out with a concussion. He could be out 1 week to be on the safe side. Kayshon Boutte, all he does is run big routes, and Drake May playing like an MVP, getting it to him. Tyjae Spears. Hey, all Tyjae Spears now, his snaps are going up. He actually out-snapped Tony Pollard this week. And we talk about game script. The Titans aren't going to be ahead in a lot of games. So if that's the case, I want the pass receiving back for the Titans. And at this point, that is Tyjae Spears. Joe Flacco, hey, as long as he's healthy, you got to put him out there because all he does is throw to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and now he's throwing to Chase Brown out of the backfield. That's great. Now, another one here that's kind of higher on my list is that DK, folks. do you have any information you want to pass along about DK? Does he interest you any, LT?
Probably, probably not.
Okay,
Um,
so what if I told you that he's averaged 16.6 points per receiving point PPR points over 16 the last 2 games? Does that interest you any?
is it game script or is he
Well,
getting more production?
uh,
Are they throwing
last
the
two
ball to
games,
him more?
79% route rate, 18% target share. However, there is the caveat, and this is what I'm coming about because I know a lot of people are going to be looking at DK. Calvin Ridley has missed the last 2 games with a hamstring injury. When he comes back, DK could move back to more of a 54% route rate and a 9% target share. I think you can cut those numbers that I just quoted in half if Ridley comes back. So I think that's why LT's a little hesitant. He knows Calvin Ridley's out there, and anytime he comes back, DK's could turn back into a pumpkin. So, so I did forget to mention it in the news and notes section, but Tyler Shuck, for those people that want the Cajun pronunciation of the New Orleans Saints quarterback, he has been named the starter going forward for now. They're going to want to see what Tyler Shuck has in the thing because the Saints will have a top 5 draft pick that will most likely use on a quarterback. But before they use it on the quarterback, they're going to see what they got in their guy, and they drafted in the 2nd round last year. And you see a guy on here. What about Isaiah Davis, LT? You got any interest in Isaiah Davis?
Absolutely. If Brees Hall gets traded,
Yep.
Isaiah Davis is a must pick up.
Yeah, I mean, just this past game, 33 snaps, 109 scrimmage yard on 10 touches. That's pretty good. You could double that if Brees Hall leaves town via thing. So yeah, and folks, that's what we're trying to tell you. You need to pick up an Isaiah Davis, a Roman Wilson, a Tank Bigsby. You need to pick them up this week because they might not be available next week. And the reason people might not pick up Tank Bigsby this week is they're going to look at the schedule and see that he's on bye this week. So people might pass him over. But if you have room, hey, it's pretty good to have a backup for a team that's going to be in a positive game script with a guy that did tweak his groin this past week. So I think Tank Bigsby should be on people's radar. What about Emmanuel Wilson? What about you? Do you think did he fancy? Did he catch your eye any, LT?
No, not
No.
really.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is the bell cow there. He's not going to give it up. It was one of those things where,
Unless he gets injured. They were
yeah,
up with by so much that
yeah.
they were trying to play everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So, but and and Dylan Sampson, I didn't see him on the list, but we brought that up because we think Quinshawn Judkins' shoulder injury is an AC joint sprain, and that for a running back could be multiple weeks. Even they're on a bye this week, but if not, Dylan Sampson will get the lion's share of the carries. And I see a Jalen Noel. I saw his name up there. He 39% of Houston snaps. Jalen Noel is getting the slot package. When they're going 3 wide, getting the slot. So I think his production could grow. And one more guy I'm going to bring up, Isaiah Likely. Yes, likely his foot injury cost him early on, but I think the last 2 games are likely has ran more routes than Mark Andrews, and even though he's lowering targets, the routes is what will transpire when Lamar Jackson gets back. Are there any other names, LT, you want to talk about on the waiver wire?
Yeah, there were a lot of people on Brashard Smith on
Oh,
the Kansas City game. There was a lot of people talking about what he could do and what he was projected for.
mm-hmm. Yep, yep. And what hurt him was the surprise return of Kareem Hunt. In there, that kind of took a thing. Hey, but LT, hey, I have to go and I have a thing I have to go and take care of real quick. So if you, 411, are you back with us? Okay. Well, I think that, okay. No, okay. Hey, Mr. 411, are you back with us?
What's up?
Hey, I got to go and take care of something real quick, so I'll be right back. Okay, Mr. 411.
All right, no problem.
Hey, now
You take care of that.
Now, what I'm going to do is before I leave, I do want to see if I can give to producers. I'm going to throw the producers a screen so you can get to the listener league, and you guys could talk about that because my thing's only going to take a second to
Okay.
handle.
Well, we could probably do a little bit more of this waiver wire until you come
Okay.
back,
Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right, because I need to ask LT about something here.
Okay.
All right. You remember that song? Hey, we want some booty. Remember that?
Absolutely.
All right. What about that wide receiver for New England, man? Booty.
Kayshon Boutte. I mean, he could possibly be a good flex spot if you need somebody because you're looking at he's going to be in the 24 to 36 range. So if you need a flex, he is definitely someone you could plug in.
All right, cool. Yeah, because I mean, it's something going on in New England, man. Like they're really building the connection out there, team wise. Drake May's doing a good job. I think the team believes in him, and that is starting to show by the performances of the players around him now. And plus, they're winning games. So I would think that that's a Patriot to look at as well. What are your thoughts on Drake May too? Do you think he's rostered by a lot of teams?
Oh yeah, he should be. Drake May is one of the best quarterbacks in the league at the moment.
Yeah. So that's one of those that you don't. I mean, that's one of the surprises this season, especially there's a lot of other ones too. But Drake May, like being an established quarterback, that is been a fairly good surprise for me this year, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But were there any other waiver wire pickups that you would think somebody need to think about, especially in leagues where it's getting thin, man, with the injuries and stuff. Plus, we got a couple bye weeks coming up.
Yeah, all the bye weeks this week. There's 4 more teams on a bye this week.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, we can get that graphic up with the teams with the byes.
Yeah, because I mean, we got 4 bye weeks this week and another 4 next week. So
we got the Browns, Jets, Eagles, and the Bucks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, this good wide receivers going to be on byes.
Yeah, and then after that, like I said, the week after that, you got Cincinnati, Dallas, Kansas City. 3 of those 4 things. So you got a lot of good offensive production that's going to be out. Not this next week, but the week after next. So so definitely that's why you got to hit the waiver wire. Got to plan a little week ahead. So
yeah, but you know what else though? It's going to be sad that Dallas is on the bye for those who could have had players going up against Dallas defense.
Dallas and Cincinnati, the 31st and 32nd ranked defenses are both off this week. So a lot of the streaming options aren't there for people that love to live in those in the streaming streets, so to speak.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Calculator, are you firing up Kyler Murray this week?
You
pick him up off the waiver wire?
And I'm glad you say that. It depends on the quarterback, folks, because I mean, if you're a streaming quarterback, and I'll give you an example. If I have Dak Prescott, I'm not picking up Kyler Murray because I'm not going to start Kyler Murray over Dak Prescott when they're playing each other because I think Dak will outscore Kyler Murray. But if I have a low like an Aaron Rodgers, or if I have a Daniel Jones, or if I have guys that I stream every now and then, I will pick up Kyler Murray if he's available and start him against Dallas. However, folks, remember, Kyler Murray still is questionable. He's been out the last 2 games. So they have not said mum is the word on but I mean, when I was looking at him, he is actually rated as projection wise the number 3 quarterback on the week for a lot of projection for sites out there, and he was on the field for this past Tuesday's practice session throwing passes. So it looks like he could be out there because he hadn't been throwing passes. Yeah, there you go, producers. So that's why I wanted to bring him up because he was out. He's been out the last 2 weeks. He had a bye week and the reason I think he might be back, folks, is because if it was really a more serious injury, he would have been put on IR. Would he not, Mr. 4-1? It made more sense if it was a serious injury to put him on IR and clear up that roster spot. So I just think they just wanted to sit him out against 2 teams that, they didn't feel very good about, get the bye week, and then that juicy matchup in the dome against that Dallas defense. So, folks, if you don't have a Josh Allen, you don't have a Dak Prescott, you don't have a Lamar Jackson, if you don't have a top 5 quarterback for this upcoming week, I'm picking up Kyler Murray if he's available, and I'm starting him with confidence.
All right. All right, this is why I have my drink out. We're about to get into the listener league, everybody. So I have my beverage of choice out right now. I had to go ahead and I had to kill this bottle right here, XXL pineapple, because we're about to dive into this listener league.
Are they a sponsor?
They will be. if the games keep going the way they're going, they're going to be one.
So because let me tell you, the matchup of the week, folks, for people that aren't in the league, was the producer, the creator of this show, going against a longtime player in the league of Robert. And Mr. 411, I got something I want to say.
Yeah.
And I was talking to your opponent last week because we were in the office together, we worked together, and he said I got Mr. 411. He has Bijan Robinson going against Miami. He has he has Saquon Barkley. I said how, and he said my main quarterback is on a bye, so I got to start Jordan Love this week. He said, calculator, should I go to the waiver wire and pick somebody up? And you know what I said, Mr. 4-1? I said, you might have to, Robert. I said, with Bijan and Barkley, you might need a higher ceiling. But hey, Robert stood fast.
Yeah.
Trusted Jordan Love. And even though Mr. 411 led almost, but I mean, 411, you came out blazing with Barkley, but then the Bijan letdown, I think, is really what, because I mean, I wish this is where we needed somebody like Brooks to show on here, the Falcons fan. I want to know what happened to the Falcons. I want to know how you're going against the 31st ranked run defense, teams that, other teams just ran over to Rico Dowdle had over 200 yards against the Miami Dolphins, and Bijan Robinson. Okay, I mean, was he ineffective? They only gave him 9 touches. It's not like they even gave him a chance, to do anything. What gives Mr. 4-1? Can you explain the Bijan debacle?
Well, I'm gonna tell y'all this. I thought about it, and I said, you know what? With all the stuff going on with the FBI and Chauncey Billups, we're not going to just leave this to the NBA. This bleeds over to the NFL too. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bijan had a poker game that he didn't win. That he didn't win a couple weeks ago. Because, like, how does a guy with that much talent not show up against Miami at home, indoors, on the carpet? And then, if you notice, late in that game, Algiers the one that was out there for the last 2 drives, not on Bijan.
Yeah.
And Bijan also had a real bad fumble.
Fumble
in
off
there
his
as
leg.
well.
I don't even think he got hit. I think he just fumbled it off his leg.
Yeah. So I'm thinking it has something to do with some of the poker games, man. And I think he's involved with some of that. So he had to pay some debts out.
Okay. And when look at your matchup, Mr. Four, I'm going to give you props because you didn't panic when Lamar Jackson was out. You stayed with Tyler Loop, and he rewarded you with double digits points. So congratulations on your kicker. But the interesting thing here, Mr. 4-1, and what was your thinking? You started 2 wide receivers for the Colts. Yeah. I mean, what was your thinking in that? Just curious.
Well, honestly, I wasn't sure which one was going to go off, so I just put both of them in there. You know, I had to figure out something to do because Ashton Jeanty was on a bye.
Yeah.
So you know, normally I go with the wishbone offense with Jeanty, Bijan, and Barkley. So, and I bank on at least 2 of them going off, and that would kind of settle things. So, without that, I said, let me just go with 2 receivers. One of them should hit a lot, and the other one, as long as you give me, you know, tight end type numbers, will be okay. So that's why I went with that. Okay. It almost paid off because
you really can't complain, Mr. Four, when you scored 140. Over 140 points. So I mean, you know, that I mean, you scored 20 more, over 20 plus projected on your projections. Yeah. So you did your job. It was just you ran into.
We just lost to a better team this week.
Well, yeah. Well, this week, I mean, that's what it was. Jordan Love, he was just, you know, just throwing. He was just throwing, you know, Hail Mary after Hail Mary. Like, and it's just the guys were coming down with it. And Shakir. I mean, you know, 88 yard, 88, you know, I think 60 of that was on one catch for a touch. You know, he usually don't get that. And then Troy Franklin. I mean, it was one of those things where there were so many Jackson Smith and Jig, but being on a bye, you would think that helped Mr. 4-1, but it actually hurt him because it forced Robert to put in Troy Franklin. You know, so that just, you know, another, you know, you played a guy that had the number 1 quarterback on the league and the number 1 wide receiver on this week, and you know, it's just one of those things that's like, you know, you know, like, you really can't, you know, fault. You played the way you were supposed to play.
Yeah, and look, that's what it's one of those where, like, say, it was the game of the week, and you know, I already knew throughout the history of you know, our league, throughout the 20-year history of this league, that Robert, you know, is always unanimously saying is always going to be a tough out for anybody. And I knew he would make some savvy pickups, and I knew some of his players would step up. And you know, all you can do is give it your best shot there. But Robert did just enough to edge me out, and I got to give him his due, man. I'm not shocked that he won, because that's just how Robert is. You know, he finds a way. But all I can do is try my best to kind of compete with him, and I thought we did. I thought our team showed up, and we'll come back stronger, especially in 2 weeks when all the running backs will be done with their buys, and we see how things go.
And I want to give props to LT. He was I mean, he was going against the second highest scoring team in the league, in Bijan Mustard. And Bijan scored his 120 points like he does every week. But LT came out firing. Jalen Waddle over projection. Lab McConkey higher than projected. Josh Allen did but Kareem Hunt, that's the guy LT wanted to save for, you know, we could have talked about him on the stud list. We could have talked about on, you know, if he was available on waiver wire. Some people could have dropped him after they thought he was injured. But Kareem Hunt, 2 touchdowns. If you have Kareem Hunt and he's healthy, you got to play him just because he plays for one of the most explosive offenses. And if you're the goal line running back for a top 5 offense, that you're getting all the money touches in fantasy. So, yeah, Kareem Hunt brought it home to it. But, hey, I also got to give your kicker that Boswell. He made the stud list with his 20 points because he was kicking. He wasn't just kicking field goals. He was kicking 50-yard field goals.
Yeah, that's definitely Mike Tomlin.
Yep. So yeah. Hey, I you know, and Mason Taylor. Just, hey, we said if you have them, start them. In Cincinnati, and he produced 14 points. But I'm impressed because, like I said, Bijan had another good game. Bijan Mustard, 38 points from James Cook, 23 from Patrick Mahomes. What was the downfall, folks? If you got the Pittsburgh defense, it's time to cut them. They're getting negative points in 2 of the past 3 weeks. They're killing teams. This is not the defense that we're normally accustomed to. I don't know what the deal is. And Miss Four, they got big play Slay, in the back end. They got Jalen Ramsey in the back end, but these guys are not prime Jalen Ramsey or prime Darius Slay. They're kind of past their prime guys, and it's kind of showing because they're trying, even when they're trying to apply pressure, their one-on-one, their man-to-man coverage is just not working. And TJ Watt is not getting to the quarterback as like he's used to. So I can't quite put my finger on it, Mr. 4-1, but that Pittsburgh defense is definitely not playing up to their normal level.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals traded them, and then they got traded again. So, yeah, something's going on in Pittsburgh. But they tend to do that, too. They tend to go south, and then somehow they'll beat somebody like Kansas City on the road or something, and then they'll find a way to get in the mix. So, Pittsburgh just too up and down for me.
I got you. So LT, congratulations on beating the second highest scorer team in the league. And
congrats, LT.
Yep. And then, I was fortunate enough to not have to play Robert because Robert being the highest. I mean, even though I scored second highest points in the league, I was able to get past the Grizzlies because I've said it before and I'll say it every week, folks. I'm only going to go as far as my top 2 players that I drafted in our league in Jamar Chase and Jonathan Taylor. I will go as far as they can take me. I was fortunate to get double digits out of Buffalo. Javonte Williams, I was the beneficiary of, hey, I'm going Dallas defense helps the Dallas offense. Yeah, Dak Prescott didn't get it, but you know what? I don't care because I had Javonte Williams in there. So if Dak Prescott's going to get vultured, it's most likely going to go to Javonte Williams. So I like that is where a scenario of where your quarterback receiver combo can help you. Because if they're going to score points, you're going to get them one way or another.
And one quick question there, or comment. Well, it's going to be a question. Yeah. So you mentioned that Pitt earlier in the show. You mentioned about Pittman, and I'm asking specifically because he's on my team. That he seems to play well when he doesn't have Richardson as the quarterback, and I think that is something where, but it will be a comment, is that if you're a fantasy manager out there, you need to think about the quarterback play. You know what I'm saying? And if you have a solid quarterback that's getting the ball out, that's going to really help your wide receivers a lot. Wide receivers is a very dependent position, and so it's important to really look at details like that because Pittman, I mean, he could be a starter like he did for me this week, but with the wrong quarterback, he could be a dud for you. And so keep that in mind when you're especially if you're on the fence with a lot of players. Like I have to be of deciding who's going to start and who's not. So. Mm-hmm. Take a look at that quarterback and see what their type of quarterbacks that deliver.
Mm-hmm. And just real quick, upcoming this week, me and Mr. 411 square off.
Oh man, well, this game is getting tougher and tougher, man.
and I'm a fortunate person that I don't have to play Saquon Barkley this week. So I got to see the magic of what Mr. 401 pulls out of the hat. For this week. And then LT, you'll be facing Flight Squad, longtime player in our league.
Yeah, that should be fun.
And Elwin, that's it for us. I think the matchup of the week, I think Robert will be in the matchup week of the week this week because he's going to play the team right behind him and fly zone Liam. And he was already talking. He said, calculator says, fly zone Liam. He's got his own Dunze going against Cincinnati. He's got T. Higgins going against Chicago. he's got Vidal going against Tennessee. Tucker Kraft. He says he's got all these easy matchups. Puka Nacua going against New Orleans. He said I don't know. He said it's going to be
coming off a bye week.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, not an injury week, right? And a bye week.
Yeah, so he had a bye week to rest up that injury, and Jahmyr Gibbs is well rested after his bye week. So yeah, that's going to be Robert has his work cut out for him.
All right, should be some good matchups to talk about next week.
Yep. And with that, folks, it is mini draft time, and folks, I will say it. I got to congratulate it because LT.
Come on, LT. Once again.
And what's crazy, folks, is you see this. He almost got 100 points, Mr. 4-1, and he got a 0 from Drake London. That's how good his other players were. He had the top 5 quarterback in Mahomes, but he had the number 1 running back in Jonathan Taylor and the number 1 tight end in Tucker Kraft. So, LT, congratulations. Another win. LT has won. He's back on track. Y'all are leaving me in the dust, man. I'm gonna have to get on a train. I'm gonna have to see what's going on with this. But hey, 411. What brought you down was Jake Ferguson and McCaffrey. So your number 1 pick let you down. And
they're fired.
Yeah, and Bijan Robinson against Miami again. He's the one that let me down. Who would have thought, that Bijan Robinson would have let me down? But he did. But hey, the good thing about a mini draft, there's always a new week, right? So we start.
It's always next week.
Always next week. So with that, we're going to spin the wheel to see who has first pick.
And we're using the stats. We're using the stats from our league, listener league, where we add 0.25 per carry to our running back. We'd like to reward those running backs that get the opportunity to carry the load. And quarterbacks, by the way.
Yeah, like the running quarterbacks, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, those guys that like to run. So now we got to see who's number 2.
All right, so calculator's going first.
Looks like it'll be you, Mr. 411.
Oh, okay. The dreaded second position.
Although LT won out of the number 2 slot
last week.
Yeah.
But I'm not LT.
Yeah, because LT won twice from the number 3 slot. So LT's winning from everywhere. So, but yeah. So let's see, 411, and it's going to be no surprise who my pick is going to be. I'm going Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, he's just a beast. He scores 3 touchdowns a week. So I'm just going to go ahead and take him because I know he won't come back to me with LT.
MVP.
Right now. Well, between him and Drake May, between them two, those two are going to be duking it out, right? Those two are the front runners for MVP, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. 411, you're up.
I'm going to go with a former MVP and a returning superstar, Lamar Jackson.
Okay, hey, he is favorable, to play this Thursday. So, and against a what they could say an easier opponent, although it wasn't quite easy for Kirk Cousins and company this past week.
It wasn't.
Yeah. All right, LT, you got back to back.
Let me go ahead and take Christian McCaffrey versus the Giants.
All right.
Going back to my old school roots, let's say, go ahead and give me Josh Allen also. Josh Allen versus Kansas City. That could definitely be a shootout.
Yep.
It's going to be a fun game.
Yes, it is. All right, Mr. 411.
All right. I'm going to stay in the same game. No, let's put the brakes on it real quick. Let me go ahead and get Njigba. I love my Seattle receiver.
Yeah.
Let me go with Njigba.
Yeah.
Yes, Ian.
Yep. And I don't need a quarterback. That's going to be my last pick because 2 quarterbacks have already been chosen. So I'm going to go with I think it's going to be a shootout. I talked about it earlier with LT when we talked about Arizona, Dallas. But I'm going to get both teams opposing players because I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb. I think he bounces back, especially at home. Dak's going to be fired up, and then tight end McBride. I mean, you get the top target getter going against the one of the worst defenses in the league. I'll take McBride all day long. All right, Mr. 4-1, you need a running back or a tight end?
That's all I need.
Yep.
All right, let me dive. I guess I'll just dip into the tight end pool. And
yeah, considering both, LT already has a running back, so your running back's gonna come back to you.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I don't know, man. I was debating this one. I'm gonna go with. He had a great week last week, so it's hard to have, I think to have back-to-back great weeks. But they are playing the Panthers, and Love just had a great week here. I'm gonna go with Kraft at tight end. Okay. I'm gonna try something here.
Hey, he won the week for LT this past week in the mini draft.
Maybe he can keep me in the mix. I'm going with Kraft.
So, hey, leads all tight ends in yards after catch this year. All right, LT, you need a wide receiver and a tight end to finish up your lineup.
Well, I'm going with my own player. It seems to be a theme with this week, so I'm going with the returning from injury off the bye, Brock Bowers.
Oh, right. He's been waiting to call his name, Mr. 411.
He's been waiting.
So.
And let's go ahead and finish it out with Puka Nacua.
Two guys coming back off of bye weeks and injuries, and LT is not scared.
Not scared.
I mean, and if they come back and do what they do, wow, that's going to be another week, another winning week.
All right, Mr. 4-1, you need a running back.
I'm going with A-Chain.
Hey.
I think he's going to be off the chain.
Yeah, on Thursday night, man, you got those Thursday night players. I see, Mr. 4-1. You're trying to get out to an early lead.
Yeah, man.
And folks, I said it before. I say it again. I sometimes the stack. I'm gonna live by the stack, die by the stack. But we'll go with Dak Prescott at home. I think their defense will always keep them in shootout mode. So I'm going to but hey, Dak at home reminds me it's looking like he has the same splits as those Geno Smith and Jared Goff home road splits. Dak has been phenomenal at home, and he has his full complement of weapons, and he's going against a team that can score. Did I mention they're playing a team in Arizona that's one of the top 5 teams in pace of play? So that will keep the ball moving and keep the score going up. And I think a 50-point total over under, which is pretty high in NFL in the NFL circles when you get a 50-point over under. So with that, folks, I got Dak Prescott, Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb, got the stack going with McBride. 4-1's going to Thursday night special with Lamar Jackson against Achane. And then he got his favorite teams where top receiver JSN and the number 1 tight end on the board in Kraft. LT, Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey, Puka Nacua. Hey, he's got potential guys that are number 1 at their position any given week. So, hey, it looks like it could be another record-setting week for mini drafts, Mr. 411.
Can't wait. All right. Yep. Well, hey, don't forget about those waiver wire pickups and all that good stuff. As usual, thank you guys. There's another show coming up in a few minutes here. But before we roll out, we want to make sure everybody stay tuned on the network, 401 Sports World Network. Like, subscribe, notification bell, and share. Because why, LT?
Sharing is king.
I heard you say it last week, man. I said he got to say it again this week.
Hey, he says it so well, Mr. 411.
Absolutely. All right. Any parting shots, parting remarks before we roll out?
Good luck to everybody this week. Hey, it's gonna be the apocalypse is behind us. We gotta look forward.
That's right. That's right. And I'm looking forward to see if LT uses that waiver priority that he's been hanging on to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nah.
when is he going to release the beast, so to speak?
Nah. I'm gonna hang on to the golden ticket.
Hey, that's exactly what it is. It's a golden ticket, folks.
All right, he's holding on to it. All right. All right, well, we'll catch you all next week. We out of here.
See ya.